Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another night of Marvel Rivals. I am your host, Adrian Magno, back at it again for another, like I said, another week of this. And, what a great start to my night. Instantly getting match canceled and paused. Love to see it. Couldn't even get any words out about the game before that happened. Tonight, we do have the pleasure of streaming the UAlbany purple team and the Maryland let me get this name right, the Maryland Terps Academy. I was also shocked to see that. What a great name. I love that name. So it is going to be very interesting to see, but I'm going to mute myself here until we can get this game started again. Sorry about that, everybody. We are back, and hopefully this time we don't have to restart as usual. Like I said, we are versing is the UAlbany Danes versus the Maryland Terps. So, we're starting Hell's Heaven. As we see Ada once again opting for that hit scan roll that he loves and does really well. Like I said, we are looking at the purple team this time, not the gold team as we saw the last 2 weeks. This is the team we saw, I believe, the first week I commentated. And, on the other side, we see Johnny Cash on Elsa Bloodstone. I was wondering whether Elsa would be played in this high rank, so I am very interested to see. We see a mag ban from the purple team, I'm just going to say the Danes, and we see a Punisher save. Yes, they're just opting for Ada to save that, and we see an Invis ban by the Terps. So, very interesting. I wonder what their kind of plan is here. I wonder if they're going to... Actually, it's weird that they hovered Invis, then ban her. Maybe they just really hate Invis. And I believe the Danes love Invis. I think Jacob has been the Invis player consistently from all the games. So that might be a little bit personal. We see a Gambit save. That's interesting. Usually teams like to feel out whether each of them use Gambit, and a team just in this case the Terps just decided to save Gambit. So I wonder maybe they're gonna play like a little bit of a rush. We see an Angela and Elsa, however, so potentially could use that in Groot. It does look like they're gonna go Angela, as Groot is a very common ban. And I'm gonna say the Felons from now on because they have it on the top, because I'd rather say Felons than Terps. That's just a personal thing. So we will be referring to Maryland as that. We see a Luna save from the Danes. I bet they definitely want that as their Invis got banned. And we see a Loki ban from the Danes. I actually missed that. I think they just really hate Loki, honestly, because I think they banned it consistently from the games I remember seeing of them. So, man, that is definitely personal. Maybe they just experienced just some terrible Lokis in the past. We see an Angela save. That's what I was expecting. Because, you see Groot ban, and, I'm shocked Albany didn't actually ban Angela there. But, maybe Loki's just worse for them. So it's going to be interesting to see what the final ban is going to be here. I wonder if they're going to, you see Punisher Luna, you instantly think Poke, I would say. We see a Cloak ban. Okay, I wouldn't personally ban Cloak. I think that's a pretty interesting ban, all things considered, because, she's pretty low maintenance. And that is a shock for me. That is crazy that they banned Hela. I believe Ada, as we saw the last time we saw him, was crazy on Hela. So that's so interesting that they're banning it for him. Maybe not for him, but it gives him less options. But we have yet to see what he plays. Phoenix, he plays Punisher, and I think Hela, and Hawkeye as well, I believe. So, not that he doesn't have options, but giving him one of his comfort picks might be maybe not the best for them. And so the comps we're seeing here, we see the Danes, like I said, opting for Punisher, Star-Lord. Feds are here. Is a great Star-Lord, as we saw last time. He's a bit crazy. We see Jacob on the Gambit and a Widow pick. Okay, we might the Danes might be playing for the vibes today, it seems like. I really hope that's just not true. We see Rudium Fox on the thing. I forget if he's been playing tank. I think last time he played Daredevil, so I think he's been jumping from all the roles, which is, perfectly fine. And then we see the Felons going for Hawkeye. We saw Lord Hawkeye, so he's a bit experienced. We see Tankpool and Angela. We see Phoenix and we see Luna Gambit. So both teams running Gambit here. Maybe he's just very good on this map. I'm unaware. I don't know the too high level for Gambit, but everybody does play him in ranked, so hard to tell. I think it's gonna be about even here. We do see the Angela get there first, cutting off the Star-Lord. I think that is very smart to take that space now, and it looks like the Felons are gonna take point first. They just have a somewhat faster comp. We see Feds almost getting picked out there. That was almost scary. Hawkeye's probably going to do very good against Thing here. We see Ada getting picked off really fast. That is quite strange from him. He usually is kind of the last person to die, I feel like, especially as that poke character. Thing is definitely going to counter Angela here. His Haymaker can actually knock down and ground Angela, which is annoying for all Angela players, including myself. So we see Wuzu actually getting Feds here. Once again, another good pick for the Felons. That is quite scary for Albany, knowing that they can't play as safe as they usually do. So it's going to be interesting here. We do see Rudium Fox just, quickly pressing a shift. You don't always have to run with it. That quick stun is very good. And we see the Felons have Hawkeye and Deadpool. Deadpool, we talked about it a bit, is very fast at getting it. But Hawkeye already is crazy. That is such a fast ult gain by the Felons here. We do see Fart Night Lover, what a name, actually going down there. So they are down a tank, but we do see the Gambit will come out. Then we see Ada dying again. That is very unfortunate. Then we see Feds dying, and it looks like the Felons are just going to run this down. Yeah, we see Wuzu just taking down a few more, and it looks like the Felons are going to just wipe the rest of the Danes here. This is quite interesting. Usually the Danes have had quite the performances in their last few games. Both teams are 4-0, I should mention. So this is definitely a matchup to look at out of any night. So I'm interested to see. We do see the Danes have 4 ults online compared to the Felons 2. The Luna ult could save both teams. I think it's going to be pretty even. We just have to wait to see what will happen. We do see Feds trying to look for a pick, and Davey dying to Big Soda on the Angela. He's been getting these crazy picks. Then Fox dying, then just snowballing out of control. Lack of, lost my words there because, I was trying to talk about all these picks, but then, 3 die, half the team is dead. So I wonder what the Danes are going to do here. It's not looking good. They are porting. Maybe that's their only option. Maybe they realize that they can't just run at them. So it's going to be interesting to see how the portal goes here. We do see Akamoto online. Feds getting an early pick on Wuzu. That's not what we want to see. But Fox does die just a little bit early, and that is their thing. That is, their tank who's going to stop is Angela. Not looking good here. We do see that both DPS ults are being used, and I don't think the Feds got 1 pick with Legendary, but we do see Ada finish off the Luna and the Felons. So it is very close here. Hard to say who's going to win. Just have to see who gets the rest of the picks. We do see Big Soda getting 2 more picks on Angela. This Angela is just so... The pressure from Angela is crazy. And it would appear that the Felons, the Terps, are going to take map 1. That is that is shocking to see. Usually, the Danes usually win round 1 from my experience. So they're having a little bit of a challenge here. It's actually very interesting to see, and going to be a very interesting night. So I wonder what they're going to switch up in their comp. We do see Fed switching off of Star-Lord onto Phoenix to go for a little bit more poke here. I don't think that's the play, though, honestly. I think they should... I agree with the Ada, what Ada switched to. I think Bucky's good here. I think they need a little bit more CC to kind of stop this Angela from successfully diving the backline. But we also see them shift maybe a little bit more aggressive here, which is strange to say because they were on Star-Lord, who is as aggressive as you can be. But the Captain America and Thor swap from the tanks, so this is definitely slightly more aggressive. Although I don't know how much I agree with this pick from the tanks because it kind of desyncs with their DPS in a way. You have two poke DPS and two kind of dive brawl tanks. Then the support can't necessarily get the heals all the way to the front. I don't know how well it's gonna blend, especially that Wuzu has that early Phoenix ult and early Gambit ult. I would say the Felons are gonna use that ult really early just to take the point in. But I just saw the future because that's exactly what they did. And we do see the Phoenix ult dropping down, killing Jacob and Ada. That is not good. That was a great combo from the Felons. I believe that damage boosted Phoenix ult is actually a very used combo in this high level. I think we saw it a few times. And I didn't see it, but Johnny Cash on the Felons swapped to Elsa. So I'm very interested to see how Elsa will do in high level play, as I was talking about before. I wonder if there's something that I don't know, that maybe she's just crazy busted, or maybe she has a niche moveset, So I'm very interested to see. We do see Jacob have Gambit ult online. It's going to be very interesting to see how they use this. Albany is taking height here. Jacob gets a pick on Angela. They must have just caught her out in the bad placement. The rest of Albany running this down with the Luna ult, actually. It was the rest of the Gambit ult. And Ruthium Fox killing off Fart Night Lover. So, Deadpool, not the best at survivability, as his little bubble is the only shield he has. Great grab by Ada there with the hook on Bucky. See Captain America ult come out. What an amazing Elsa ult, grabbing out almost, I think, two or three of the Danes. But luckily, I think that Captain America ult, kind of like a pseudo support ult, saved them. And the rest of the Danes here are just going to wipe out the Felons. That is a great wipe by the Danes. Fighting back a bit, showing that they're not going to fall to this comp. But, the Felons don't swap here. They're very confident in this comp. They did win round 1, and they got a bit of, the second point. 32 is nothing to laugh at. Any point, any amount of the point is good, But they do have 3 ults online. Just Luna ult, and Luna might have to pop it here. She's very low, does not force pop it. Didn't get too scared. But we do have 2 dying on the Danes. That is not good. Feds are here getting a good pick with the Phoenix ult. 1 is going to be good enough. But we saw that the Phoenix maybe got damage boosted by the Luna ult because it killed someone through the Luna ult. Maybe they were just diving the hell out of Feds. But, that is not what we want to see. And it appears, and Figs does get picked off by Figs on Angela gets picked off by Bucky. I think that pick was excellent to counter this Angela. We do see Elsa ult come out, grabbing 2 to 3 people again. That is great value. This Elsa player, Johnny Cash, showing how to use Elsa properly here. Maybe I should, take some notes, maybe to learn Elsa. I would love to play her. She looks great. Especially her ult. Her ult looks so fun and just, as we can see, just very annoying here. Grabbing 2 people just from the back line, and even Thor can't even do anything. So I wonder what Ruthium Fox is going to do here. Try to go deep with this Thor ult, as the Felons don't have too much movement. And we do see that he gets 2, and it was just that the Thor aura was just dominating the team right there. Unfortunately, they did kind of not ult dump there, but for lack of better words, actually, I thought the Felons had point there. I was mistaken. So I'm going to take that back, and the Danes actually successfully used their ults there to take game 2. I was mistaken. I thought the Felons had point the whole time. So, I thought the Danes had to use 2 ults to get back on point. But maybe the Felons just never capped point, because it looked like the Danes were in their spawn, actually. So maybe the Felons just never capped, and the Danes actually just got a free round 2. So I wonder what the Felons are going to do here. We do see a switch back to Hawkeye off of Elsa. Maybe that comfort pick on Hawkeye from the first round will come back. Never mind, he lied. He's going back to Elsa. Maybe just trying to test it out again. It's going to be very interesting here. We don't see too many swaps from the Felons. I don't believe a single swap. Maybe that confidence is just going to boil over here. But the thing I fear for the Danes is that this map in particular for Hell's Heaven has the pit to the right of the point, which as an Angela player I can tell you that's terrible news for them because she can constantly drag people off the map, especially if they don't have movement. Luna, Gambit are pretty vulnerable. Gambit can somewhat do it, but the rest of them really can't. Even Captain America for some regard. So I do think the Angela pick here might actually win them the game, but it's going to be only time can tell. We do see Rudium Fox just not letting this Angela get any value. His E will ground her. The Felons did pop Gambit ult early on there. Once again, that's a very classic move for Gambit players. But it does not appear to work. Ada using Bucky ult here could not successfully get anybody. I think the Deadpool shield potentially saved like a good amount of his team there. They're all pretty low. We just see a big brawl here. Captain America almost dying through his ult, which is crazy. That takes a lot of damage to do. Then Feds dropping a Phoenix ult right in the middle of it, just popping ults on each side, not successfully getting a kill. As I say, that Johnny Cash getting a kill with the Elsa ult, then the rest of the Felons just taking out the Danes, the rest of them trying to scatter away. A little defeated there, only getting 12% on the point while dumping how many ults did we see there? A good amount. So I wonder what the plan is here. Maybe it's just going to be a battle of the ults. It's just, I think the Thor has to shut down, the Thor and the Bucky need to shut down this Angela. As I say that, Johnny Cash getting picked off by the Bucky hook once again. Rudium Fox getting a good pick on the Luna, then him just brawling the rest of this out, and Deadpool cannot save his support there, and I do think the Danes are going to take this back a bit. Could potentially get a pick there on Johnny Cash. I think he should be a little just wary of this, the Bucky on the Danes. So, but once again, the Danes did take the point. This is a very back and forth, a very even game. Johnny Cash trying to get an off angle here. That's going to be a bit scary to do. You see Thor and Cap. I don't think you really want to play too many off angles away from your team. Could potentially get picked off. See a really early Gambit ult once again is going to run on point. I wonder if Angela's going to speed boost on the point. And as I say that, Ada getting picked off probably just got run at by the whole team. Then it's going to appear that they did use Luna ult. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's a big blunder by the Danes, using Luna ult for the Cap and herself. Davey using it there. I don't agree with that because now they're down a whole. They're only healing ult, the big support ult on their team. They don't have it for the next fight, and the Felons have 3 ults online. They don't have any support ults either. But Luna can get it really fast. She is closer than Davey, so it's it's not looking good. Ada has to get a great either hook here or just an amazing Bucky ult. Maybe he can get inspired by the gold team, whose Bucky is crazy as well. Do see Rudium trying to get a pick here and successfully getting on point. The Danes, wow, I didn't even see what happened. I don't know what started it. Oh, it was the Gambit ult from Jacob, actually. Once again, just trying to use Gambit ult to retake point. And that's all it is right here. We talked about Gambit a few times here and there, how the ult is just devastating, and it's just being shown here once again how crazy it is. Just a speed boost and damage boost on the point, just trying to frag out. This is a bit of an overextension by Tronzer here. The Captain America ult could save him. Without shield, it's hard to enter with Cap. But I think he's just being a little scary, trying to scare the backline of the Felons. And we do see Johnny Cash actually almost getting picked off there. That was crazy. Tronzer using a bit of a early ult here, and Cap trying to brawl. Does force out Luna ult, which is great. Do see Johnny Cash using the Elsa ult. I don't think that was probably the best spot for it. I'm shocked the Danes aren't actually dying here. And as I say that, the Phoenix-Angela combo comes out, and really well done by the Felons here. Kind of just bringing all the Danes together with that Angela ult and just, firebombing them with Phoenix. So this is going to be really interesting. This is definitely going to be the final fight here. We do see Feds with the Phoenix ult. Davey needs to get this Luna ult. I think those two just need to finish off this game. Kind of a weird, strange portal. I don't know how well it's going to fare. Do see Feds. Yep, there's the Phoenix ult. He is very low, I believe. So once he gets out of it, they are probably going to jump him. Davey did get that Luna ult, which might save them the game because the Felons don't have a single ult. They just use Deadpool ult. But Jacob is dead. They are down 1 support. And this is not looking good for the Danes. They are down both their supports with no ults. And Ada just died with Bucky ult online. That is tragic. And what a tragic end game for the Danes here. What a close game from both teams. This is a very exciting night, and we do see Maryland taking the first game of the night. Very rare for the Danes. Usually they kind of sweep, but they have seen a bit of a challenge here by the Terps. And Johnny Cash, his ult, he was getting ult plentiful. I think almost every other fight I mentioned, Johnny throwing out I don't know the name of the else's ult, but the little monster dude. And William Fox doing really well done on Thor. 13 final hits on Thor is quite well, actually. I don't think I do that much. Oof, I need to take some tips. And we do see Johnny Cash, 24k damage. Does have the most on the team and the most in the lobby by a good amount, actually. Only 31 kills, though. Wuzu on Phoenix there does have more kills than him, a little less damage. So maybe the game just loves Johnny Cash, but very well done by the Terps. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Danes do here for Game 2 to try and challenge the Terps here. So we'll be right back when Game 2 starts. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of the series. We are on Heart of Heaven this time for Convergence. And like we talked about a little bit right before the break, I wonder what the Danes are going to do here to counter the Felons here. We do appear to see the Felons kind of changing up their strategy a bit here, going away from... They had somewhat of like a brawl comp. Elsa, I don't really know if she counts as poke necessarily. I think her fall off's a bit earlier than like Hella's, for example. So I do think they're going for a bit of a more poke comp here. We do see the Namor Hella team up. We see Mag. Those are definitely very apparent of poke. But we do see Fig Soda on Angela once again. Maybe that's just a comfort pick, and it definitely showed that it worked last time. Pretty similar bans from last game. We see the Danes actually banning Gambit. I don't know if it was the Felons. No, sorry. The Felons, I believe, saved Gambit because both teams had it, so I believe it was saved last time. So to see it banned is very interesting, and I think maybe the Danes just realized that they don't want to verse Gambit today, and I think it's going to stay that way. But the Felons did ban Invis right back. Maybe as similar to the Danes, Invis is just not good against them. Maybe they just have a very bad experience against Invis. And the Danes actually saving Luna here. pretty common save, I guess. As you know, I think they normally do go Invis as their main healer, but if Invis is going to get banned, they don't want Luna to get banned, and they're down a main healer. And perhaps maybe the supports on the Danes are not maybe don't play other main supports. I mean, the only other really main support role would be Cloak, I would say. Then the rest kind of fluctuate, you know? And as I say that, Cloak gets banned, so maybe Luna save was necessary, as, you know, otherwise the Danes would be down the main support. Once again, Hela getting banned, that's a great ban from the Danes. I don't think they know it. Obviously, I can see the Hela Namor team up, but they don't. So, you know, maybe they predicted it. Maybe they just know how good Hela is in this matchup. Who knows? And the Mag ban from the Felons, that's just a really good save. You know, Mag is just consistently good. And especially in poke comps, you want Mag like 24/7. He's just great all around. So I wonder what the Danes are going to save here. I would think maybe Phoenix potentially, and Punisher actually, which is quite strange to see because we saw last game they also saved him, but they didn't really use him that much. I think after the first round they swapped off to Bucky. So I don't necessarily agree with this save. I don't think the Felons were looking to ban Punisher anyway. And, you know, do they really want to save a character they may not even end up using? It's kind of a waste of a save. And that is definitely a target ban, everybody. The Thor ban is definitely, you know, it's there to stop Angela, and the Felons realized, well, you know, if we just cut away Thor, then we don't deal with him, you know? So they did waste a ban slot on Thor, who is not necessarily the best tank because he does struggle in some areas, but specifically for their comp, it's very, you know, demoralizing and not good. So we are going to see the ban there. So Rudian Fox, I think last time he did a pretty similar thing where he showed us Daredevil a bit. And this comp is very interesting from both teams. We'll start with the Felons. We see Mag, Luna, Loki, Angela, Moon Knight, Punisher. So definitely a poke comp, you know, with Angela twist, as we love to see. Fig Soda is great on Angela, so, you know, I don't doubt it. But definitely the definition of a poke comp. And on this map, I don't think I've seen this map on comp before. I played it in a rank. I don't personally like it, but, you know, I don't think we've seen it in this high level of play. Then for the Danes, we see Groot. That is support pool, I believe. And we see triple support here. That's very interesting, actually. Maybe opting for a little bit more support because maybe Angela is just doing too much. I think they're going to try and sleep her and jump her. And Ada going back on Bucky. Once again, like I said, the Punisher save just not to use him is really disappointing. I don't like that. Maybe they should think about a little bit like what they truly need to save here. You know, if they're not going to use Punisher, if anything, they gave the Felons Punisher because they wasted the save on him. So that's, you know, not a good look. And, you know, this Moon Knight already halfway to ult actually picks off Feds, Davey, and apparently UAlbany was just all crowded around each other because Johnny Cash getting 3 on Moon Knight there. That is tragic. Wuzu finishing off the rest. And Rudian Fox actually using Deadpool ult there. I don't know, maybe he wanted to survive or maybe a misclick or something. But he, you know, Deadpool on a 40-second cooldown after you use it, I think about. So, you know, not that crazy of a, you know, timer, but, you know, it's, you know, an ult you kind of just wasted. Johnny Cash using this ult right down the choke. I mean, that is exactly where you want to put it. Fed's trying to get him off this height. I agree with him, but it's going to be hard. You know, they're playing Heaven really well here. Johnny Cash finishing off another person getting a pick. Angela with her axes getting Ada, which is kind of strange. You know, her axes are really good for brawling, not necessarily fighting in general. You know, you usually want to use your spear to poke a bit, but they are really good at finishing off people, so I think that is definitely the intention. And we see big swaps here. Fed's here going Angela, maybe taking inspiration from Figs. Then Chandra is still on Groot. Ada on Punisher. Thank God they're using that save. And Jacob on support pool. So they kind of swapped with Rudian Fox off Deadpool. Maybe he wasn't feeling confident on it today. But unfortunately, in the meantime, the Felons have 4 ults online. Did get picked off their group. Fortnite Lover dying there. But, you know, the Felons not giving up here, honestly. Killing 2 on the Danes. Both tanks, actually. That is crazy, maybe. they were just taking so much damage. Davey Wavy not being able to save them with Luna ult, that is actually tragic. And once again, wasting another ult here, especially support ult. They gotta be careful with their ult usage here. I think the Felons are just using much better ults here. Nothing at all actually copying Luna and using the start the show there, which, you know, maybe a bit of a blunder, but, you know, hard to say. Wuzu and Fig Soda using ult there, probably just tying down the Danes and just gunning them down. But I think they did break it in time, and Wuzu actually dying there, Ada getting his get back, and we see a very, you know, a carbon copy of the combo there with the Danes using the same ults there. And it's going to be very close here. I mean, bring out the Punisher Shotgun. I totally agree. That thing will probably 2-tap Groot there. And as I say, that Groot is dead. This Punisher Shotgun is just, you know, just slightly overtuned. But we don't talk about that, right? And I believe the Felons might have port. They did port there because Wuzu was on Punisher. So I don't know what they're going to try and do here. Fed's just trying to body block this. Johnny Cash getting 3 with Moon Knight ult. Oh my god, where did he put... I didn't even see where he put that ult. Got another... He has 5. Will he get a perfect ace here? And Johnny Cash got a perfect ace onto the Danes. He got all 6 kills there. That is very beautiful from Johnny Cash. Very devastating by the Danes, as they barely just got the point there, and you know, off of the enemy's team port, so they had the advantage there. But Johnny Cash must have just saw something that I didn't. Then Fig Soda just stopping Feds. This is tragic. Rudian Fox trying to get anything, and this Moon Knight on this roof is just so demoralizing. Just can't even enter sight. See Groot and Luna ult coming out there, probably trying to damage boost his team to kill something, but it's not. I don't think it's gonna work. The Felons have 2 support ults. They just finished Luna ult, then nothing ult just copied the Luna ult. So they basically have pre-patched Luna ult where it's going off for like 14 seconds, which is not what we want to see. And the Danes are down too. They're down Ada and they're down Davey Wavy. So it's not looking good here. And Johnny Cash is like, another Moon Knight ult, and it's just too much. Tragic for the Danes. Not being able to stop that port was just, you know, like I've been saying, tragic. Then Moon Knight getting an ace there, for, you know, lack of better terms, is just, you know, not looking good. And Johnny Cash going for Johnny Storm, very corny saying there, but I figured he'd be a Johnny player if that's his name. And the Felons actually swapping to more choke here. Johnny Cash going for Squirrel Girl. I really hope that's a joke, similar to that Widow Hover we're seeing, and yeah, they're just having a good time over there. I'd be feeling confident too if I was Johnny, you know, getting an ace, wiping a whole team by myself, obviously with the help of my teammates, but, you know, finishing all the kills there. So I wonder what the Danes are going to do here. I think, yeah, oh my god, they are not going to insult them here, but they are kind of copying the Felons here, going for Moon Knight, Punisher, and Loki, which, you know, the Felons did on their defense. Now, this is what we have to look at. The Felons have swapped their whole comp, basically, almost about. See Fart Night Lover off of Groot onto Penny. Frosty Circle still on Luna, but we see nothing at all off Loki, and actually for Deadpool, maybe for more of a active support compared to Loki, who's a bit more passive. Fig Soda still on Angela, but we see Johnny going back on Elsa, which, you know, as we saw, he did a very good job, and Wuzu on Star-Lord, which is going to be interesting. I wonder if the Angela and Star-Lord are really just going to run this down. And as I say that, they're breaking this roof, and they have roof control already, which, you know, the Danes couldn't do. They couldn't stop Moon Knight on there, so it's very sad to see that they can't hold the roof. They did retake it, but, you know, scary to see that the Felons could take that any second they want. As I say, the Rudy and Fox killing off Fart Night Lover on Groot, which I don't think Groot's going to do too well here. He's probably just going to get beamed down by all the pokes being thrown his way. But I don't think you should switch here. In a weird way, he's kind of a sponge here just to take everything while his team can walk in. So, you know, maybe it'll work out here. We do see nothing at all with the Deadpool. It's not the craziest ult in the game, but, like, you know, just the amount you get it. And it can actually wipe a team, you know. It's not that far off. Wuzu getting a pick on Feds. That's not what you want to see at all. Then Angela just striding up in the back line, picking off two, grabbing Groot, who's away from his iron wall, and unless the Danes can switch here to Strange, and as they say that they do, trying to port here, will they be able to get a successful port? They couldn't stop the port. Maybe they can be aggressive on it. But I think the Felons are a little bit more prepared for it. And that's going to launch two off the map. Gets one because, it was Strange so he can fly up. But killing Rudy and Fox there for free and forcing Ada all the way down away from sight. And, in the end, the Felons taking game 2 on convergence there. Once again, sending Albany back another game. There's 2-0 in the series. And it's just, what do you do here? Johnny Cash having a great night on DPS. His Elsa is beautiful to see. And, the rest of the team's been playing good, too. I shouldn't discredit, it's a team game. But, 15 final hits, 26 kills is, quite the flex, I would say. So, oh, my God. 18,000 damage. The next top person on his team has 9k. Then if we look at the Danes, Rudian Fox has 10k. He almost just doubled his damage in a lobby full of Grandmasters and Celestial, while none of them couldn't even break 10,000. That is well done by the Terps. So I wonder what the Danes. I keep saying I sound like a broken record, but the Danes have to adapt somehow. Honestly, it's hard. It's going to be really interesting to see, but we're going to have to see in Game 3. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the third game of the series. And, if the Danes don't do anything, it's going to be a 3-0 sweep against them, which, usually they're the ones sweeping, so it's going to be pretty rough for them. Then we actually see a sub for the Danes, I believe. I'm trying to think who's out. It's Papa. I'm going to say. I don't want to say that name out loud, but we'll call him Poppy, okay? I'm trying to think who got subbed out here. I think it was... Nope, I'm blanking here. I'm not going to guess. So, let's talk about the teams. You see usual invis ban from the Felons, and we see a personal ban from the Danes on the Angela. I would too, honestly, after all the trouble it has caused. Then the Gambit save, which they took that personal. They said they banned our Gambit. We want him back. So, they're going to save him. One problem's out, another one's in. It's very not fun. The Thor save, yeah, by the time the third game rolls around, each team is trying to definitely personalize their bans and saves. The Thor save is definitely personal because they banned him last game and they really wanted him. But I don't think they might need it this time. We banned Angela, so why do we need Thor? Maybe... I don't know. It's hard to say. So I really do wonder. Then we see a Cloak ban. They don't like Cloak over there. They just don't like main healers on the Felons. They only like Luna, apparently. Invis and Cloak being not dead, banned there is quite tragic. If God forbid the Danes banned a Luna for whatever reason, they wouldn't do that because they also choose Luna. And see an Elsa save. Not that I don't think the Danes were going to ban her, because, Johnny Cash is doing a phenomenal job on Elsa. I don't think they really see it as the main problem. The problem goes away from one character or one person. It's, still a whole team fight at the end of the day. See a Captain America save. I don't agree with these saves personally. I'm not out there, so I really know what their thought process is. But why save Thor and Captain America? It doesn't even look like the Felons were even looking at banning a tank, maybe one. So do we really need Thor and Captain America? I'm not too sure. We're gonna have to see. Then we see the final Hela band, which they've been doing all day. I wonder if somebody on the Felons, maybe it's like a Hela 1 trick. We saw Wuzu actually hovering it twice, so I'm thinking it's him. I think he's the Hela player, and they got scared by that. And oh my God, the big Jeff got banned. Maybe they just really hate that shark. Who doesn't hate that shark? I do. So maybe a little bit of troll, not troll pick, but maybe they're just having a good time. Then we have to see where the comps are gonna go. Fig Soda actually going on Captain America. Kind of resembles me. I play Angela and Captain America personally, so I love seeing him choose both today. Wuzu going Bucky. We saw him. They haven't used Bucky today. They've been kind of running roughly the same comp all day, with Angela and Groot, Luna, Gambit. They've been kind of just doing the same stuff. DPS kind of fluctuates. It's going to be a little different. Then the rest of the team's pretty similar. Looking at the Danes, they are actually using their saves, thank God, this time. Last time they didn't necessarily use that. So, yeah, now we want to see. And I actually missed a few bans. Actually, I think the bans are swapped because I believe it was the Felons that banned the 3 supports. So maybe the game just altered that because I didn't see the Loki ban. So it's gonna be interesting here. Usually Punisher does pretty good into Loki because he can just beam the clones out really quick. But it does not unfortunately look like that. And Ada needs to get healed here. That was a little scary. He was kind of sitting behind point. I don't know where his support were looking. Wuzu getting a pick on Jacob definitely probably hooked him, as Bucky's do. Then that is both support dead already. That's not what we want to see. Then Trunks are actually dying on Captain America. Once again, Captain America dying first is not common at all. Usually he's the last one to go down. He really is just the rock of the team. So they're kind of getting choked out here. That sounds really bad. I'm gonna rephrase that. They are getting stuck in this choke really bad by this Punisher, Johnny Cash over there. Just really showing that he's a great DPS. Wow. No shade to the DPS on the Danes. It's just, you gotta admire the DPS on both sides. Then Mag actually getting ran down there. Maybe that's the Thor and Cap strategy here, to run down this Mag to kind of get, if you overpressure Mag, he gets a little too overwhelmed, and you just really can't do much. This kit's not really good meant for close range, as we know. Tron's actually almost dying there. That is scary. His shield barely breaking. But the Falcons have 3 ults, both support ults online. The Danes are just slightly behind. So, and I expected that the Gambit ult is going to come out a little bit early, and the Falcons are probably going to look to run this down here. Jacob needs to get this support ult, and I think that is a slight miscommunication. Both support ults coming out from the Danes. Unless they could wipe the Falcons here, it's not going to be really worth it. But the Falcons use their own Luna ult and Punisher ult, which I think was just a better combo than the Danes. They did the Bucky again, but that can't necessarily kill through Luna ult unless everybody's shooting the same opponent. But Punisher ult can shred right through it, I believe. So they actually got the picks there and actually ran the Danes back to their spawn. So they won that fight. Tronzer probably gonna enter with Captain America ult, but Fig Soda's probably gonna use it in a few seconds to, all that progress that they got is just gonna go right back. And the second Tronzer's Captain America ult went down, Fig Soda uses it, and his team's full health again. So once again, I think the ult usage here is definitely the name of the game for this set. And unfortunately for the Danes, I'm just gonna have to say it personally that their ult usage is a little rough today. Usually you see it better. But unfortunately for today, they just can't handle it. And Maggle comes out really deep. Unfortunately, does not hit any of the back line, which is definitely what he was aiming for there. And I actually didn't see this, but Albany switched their comp up a little bit. We do see Ruthium Fox on the thing going off Thor. I kind of agree with that. Probably to get a little bit more AoE in there with his haymakers. Johnny Cash kind of shredding this team. They're all trying to run around, trying to not get hit by this Punisher ult. But the Falcons get the Punisher ult and the Luna ult back crazy fast. They just used it in I feel like the previous fight. Then Wuzu coming in with the again. I really should learn the name for that ult if I talk about it so much. But he actually does die here, which is a little bit overcommitment. And in a turn of events, the Falcons actually lose the fight, and I believe are gonna lose the point. Kind of scary that the sub Poppy over there actually brought back the enemy team, potentially giving them a chance to come back there, but I think they just wanted to finish it off. And shockingly enough, he's on controller as Elsa. Now, that's not to say controller players can't aim, but usually the aiming role goes to the keyboard and mouse player, at least for rivals, and other games could be different. But maybe Elsa's not too aim heavy. I don't think she is, from as far as I'm aware. So it's just something I thought was curious. Fig Soda actually almost dying there. That was actually very close. Maybe the thing was just kind of body blocking him. So I think the Danes just need to play more aggressive here. I just don't think they've had this backline pressure as they should. Tronzer dying there, I think his approach was just a little too obvious. And turn of events in a kind of a funny way, both Captain America's got traded there, maybe both overcommitted, which is funny enough. Maggle's definitely going to save his team there. That's where Maggle becomes very defensive. Usually you see it, he's very offensive to kind of break support ults, but there, he realized the situation, the Danes running up on his team with Gambit ult, he ate it all up, shot it right back, and he killed one, which is definitely effective here. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, like I've been saying for the night, the Falcons just have really good support usage there. They do have the Luna ult online, which I believe they are going to use soon, if I had to guess. But the Danes are actually dying here more, even though, they haven't, it's only Captain America ult, which is not the most aggressive ult. It's good enough. But that was a great ult by Poppy, grabbing, I think, about 2 there. Always grabbing these tanks with that ult. It's really, I love to see that ult every time it comes out. Fig Soda almost dying there. He was definitely scared there. I would be too. If my health got that low on Captain America, I would definitely jump out. But the Danes are getting a good amount of the point there. They are off a little bit. They need to remember to stay on halfway through the second point, it's going to be really hard to see what they do here. We do see Wuzu with the Bucky ult, and Tronzer just coming back. He must have got picked off when I didn't see it. So, yeah, not good. He has to reset again. Wuzu, if I were him, I would just jump around this corner and hit almost the whole team. But the game with Jacob is going to see them run down the rest of the team. Ada getting his get back from the whole day. I don't think he's been getting the best ults out today. Kind of just been stopped. Not the usual thing we've seen from him. Usually he's very overbearing for other teams, but today maybe he's meeting his match. He's not having the best time, so he definitely just wanted to stop that. And Tronzer trying to stop the Strange portal there. Probably should have knew better than to stop that. He can't stun Strange out of his ult. So he kind of just wasted some time there, getting back and not helping his team with the fight on point. And yeah, the Felons, even though the point was right there, they opted the port and it successfully worked. They are very good at jumping out of these portals and fighting. Like, we've seen it all day on the Convergent map. I don't know the name of the map, but the map with all the fog, where they poured on top of that little roof and they successfully won the retake. So, the Danes do successfully get 2 points there. Once again, the UI of the game messing up. It's supposed to be 2 to Albany. But now the Felons are on attack, so I wonder if they're going to play more aggressive with this Captain America. We're just going to have to see. And the Danes probably not going to switch their comp. I think their comp is a little bit more defense-oriented. We do see Tronzer actually swapping off Captain America, going for Mag instead. The Felons were actually on Mag on defense, and it worked quite well. We saw them shut down Gambit ults, so maybe they're once again taking inspiration. But Rudy and Fox going to Groot this time. I think we saw Groot on the other map as well, the Fog map, as I will call it until I remember the name. I think we saw it once, but I don't think he did too well there. Then as he's lying to us, he's swapping tanks, very indecisive here. He doesn't get the point though. Rivals doesn't have the nice feature that Overwatch does with customs, where you can add like 30 seconds, so your team can actually get the point on time. So they don't have that. So he needs to get a point before he gets slightly backed up. It's just a small detail. And like I said, the Felon's definitely playing aggressive here. We do see Johnny Cash going back to Hawkeye. Very interesting to see. He was doing very well on, I believe he was playing Punisher. And then, the Punisher duel there between Ada and Johnny Cash is definitely apparent. For Fortnite, however, actually almost dying there. I wonder all that damage came from. Maybe Elsa was kind of gunning him down. Then we see Johnny just trying to get these picks with Hawkeye. Hawkeye is just still busted as hell. He can one-tap how many people still? It's just not a fun time. So, only time can tell until he gets a very, quote-unquote, lucky headshot. I think anybody would know how lucky these Archer characters can get with headshots. Then he has a great angle here. The Danes had not the best positioning there. They hear the Hawkeye ult, then they all got into a corner. It is out of the way for the time being, but once the Felons walk up there, he can just gun them down for, even though it's a bow, yeah, right? But he can, just kind of shoot them down there in that corner, because there's only the one entrance, and they have Mag and the group wall, so they really that can easily break once he's just spamming down arrows. But the Danes did take that back of that fight. I actually saw Jacob there kind of dive, I think Wuzu in the corner, or the Gambit. I forget, I didn't really see the model, but seeing the Gambit player go out of his way to kill someone's really funny, and it's gonna be interesting to see here. I definitely think Poppy needs to get the Elsa ult here before the Gambit ult gets a little too much, because he can just push everybody back. Farnight Lover trying to get a pick here. That hit, I am so shocked that hit Ada. He was all the way above it, and it, maybe the replay didn't give me a great angle, but it didn't even look like it freaking hit him. So that's very unfortunate from what I saw. That is a great Elsa ult. Oh my god, that grabs 2, but unfortunately doesn't kill anybody. And I thought it would hit him a little bit lower, but maybe the support on the Felons was just just shooting the hell out of the Elsa ult because they were about full HP when they came out of it. So it's not something you want to see a blunder by Johnny Cash there not being able to get on that roof. Tragic to see. But, I don't think he's worried, honestly. They have 4 minutes on the clock. They don't even need to get past the second point. And I'm sure the Danes are stressed here. This not a great position you want to be in, especially on the last map. It's just another line of pressure that you don't want to deal with. And the Groot ult here, they don't really they have Ada to combo with Punisher, but Groot ult and Punisher ult, it's not the best because it needs to be slightly timed where the Punisher can, get that wind up before he can get it off. And as I say that, it's not a good night. Ada actually getting killed there by just a Hawkeye headshot, not even the ult, before he can get his ult off. And Johnny Cash using the Hawkeye ult, the after images, to gun down the Danes again, and it's just tragedy after tragedy. That was what the Danes were relying on there to kind of wipe the team. So it's not a good look. Then on top of that, the Felons popping Gambit ult right outside the portal, body blocking and just killing anybody that walks out of that portal. Then the Bucky ult is just another nail in the coffin. Like, don't you're doing them really dirty here. Then Poppy trying to do anything to salvage the game, but unfortunately, I will have to say it. That is 3-0. The Felons, they have taken game 3, and that is the end of the series tonight. 3-0 the Maryland. This is also the Danes' first loss. They are currently 4-1 in the NECC league because of this, and I wonder if maybe there's other people in their division who are just as good as Maryland was. So very well done by both teams. I just think maybe the ult usage was a little bit better for the Terps there. This time, Frosty Circle and Luna getting the MVP, not just Johnny Cash. Wow, they definitely love Luna because look at I don't know much about the new prestiges, but that's quite high from what I see. And 32,000 healing with 10k damage block on Luna is definitely not something to laugh about. On top of that, 20 kills, 27 assists. So he was also having a great game himself, playing consistent. But Johnny Cash, once again, we have to talk about it, 32k damage. That is crazy. Nobody on Albany could pass 20,000 there. So yeah, just not a great night for the Danes. But that will do it from us here, and hopefully next week we will see hopefully a win from the Danes. But I hope everybody has a great night and go Great Danes.